great recipe today. She crab soup. If you've never had it, it is awesome. And here we go, it's she crabs. Well, it's not really she crab soup because in a lot of states you can't harvest she crabs, girl crabs, with roe because it's illegal. So you don't want to make illegal crab soup, do you? So I'm using boy crab. But for this recipe, if you have to use the canned stuff from the grocery store, it's still going to be good. So let's get at it. She crab soup. Here's everything you need to make. It's take two. It's like, well, that's four. But here's everything you're going to need to make this delicious she crab soup. We're going to start with 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I've got 1 small white onion and 1 stalk of celery, minced finely. 2 large garlic cloves, minced finely. 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. I've got a seasoning mix, which is 1.5 teaspoons of paprika. I use New Mexican red chili powder because I always use New Mexican red chili powder as a substitute for paprika. I've got 1 teaspoon of Old Bay seasoning, 1/8 teaspoon of mace, and 2 bay leaves. I've got 1 lemon. We're going to need about 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice, 2 cups of heavy cream, about 1/4 cup of minced green onion for garnish, 2 tablespoons of dry sherry. Don't overdo the sherry. 2 tablespoons, that's it. You'll ruin it. Over here I have 3.5 cups of fish stock. Now what I use, you could use chicken stock. I've made it with chicken stock, works just fine, but as long as I can, I'll use the fish stock. And what I do when I don't have homemade fish stock is I use this better than bouillon lobster base, and it's delicious. So that's what I'm using today. But don't worry about the stock. If you had, like I said, just chicken stock would work fine if you had to. I'd get some of this stuff. This soup is absolutely delicious. One of the things I love about it is really a quick make. It's not all that, for the amount of flavor you have, it's not that much work. So let's get started. I'll turn my burner on medium high, and we're going to start by melting this butter. Okay, so I'm melting this butter. I'm going to go ahead and throw in my onion and my celery. And all we're going to do with the onion and celery is we just want to get it soft. We don't want to get any brown on it. For about 5 minutes. And like we always do with vegetables, I'm going to put a pinch of salt in to help them sweat. And remember, I always put the recipe at the end of the video so you can see all the little details about the ingredients and reread how I do it. So this has been about 4 minutes. And the vegetables are starting to look soft, so I'm going to go ahead and add my garlic. And we're going to stir this for just about another minute. Once you start smelling that garlic, we can go on to the next step, which is adding our 3 tablespoons of flour. Stir that in well. And we just want to cook this combination for about 3 minutes just to get the raw flour taste out of it. Walked into the restaurant one day and 2 of my cooks had a big pot on the stove, and when I walked in there, I said, "What are you doing?" And they said, "Well, we're wishing in the next ingredient because your recipe says wish in the stock." I didn't spell very well. All right, so this has been cooking for about 3 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to whisk in my stock. Going to add all my seasonings, and we're going to bring this to a boil. So my wife Morgan is actually out of the country right now, this is 30 years. Our anniversary's in a couple months, 30 years, it's awesome. And so I was faced with, she wanted to take her mom, my mother-in-law, to Amsterdam to see a wonderful niece of ours who just had a baby. It's just like, do I be separated for the longest I've ever been separated from my wife, or do I go to Amsterdam, with my mother-in-law? So I've had a really good week here at home, and we had a lot of things to get done, mowing the lawn and, getting the pool chlorine. Mail. Who's going to get the mail? Oh, I better go get the mail, I forgot. Jehovah's Witnesses might come to the door, and I always hate to disappoint them. You know, we don't have a cat, but you never know when one's going to show up that you need to feed. It just didn't seem right for me to go. So this has come to the boil. I'm going to let it simmer for about 10 minutes. It'll start to thicken up slightly before we start our next step. You do want to occasionally give this a stir. It's got about 3 minutes more to go, I would say. So this has been just about 10 minutes now, and it has thickened up a little bit. And now we're going to add our heavy cream. Whisk that in. Bring that back up to a simmer. You want to let this simmer about 10 more minutes until the consistency is correct. And I'll show you what that looks like in about 10 minutes. So this has been 10 minutes, and I want it just a little thicker than this. So I'm going to let it go for another 2 or 3 minutes. So this has been a total of 13 minutes now, and this looks more what I'm looking for right there. So I can go ahead and add my sherry, 2 tablespoons, no more, and then about 2 tablespoons also of fresh lemon juice. This is a real juicy lemon, so about half a lemon. And whisk that in. Now, if you were making this for a luncheon party or something like that, you could cool this down, put it in the fridge, and wait till the next day. If you're going to have it right now, like I am, you go right ahead. And now I've saved back some of the lump crab meat just for garnish, just a little bit, just enough to put on top. I'm going to go ahead and add my crab in. And you don't want to beat this up. You want to kind of just carefully fold this in so that you're left with some lumps of crab. And we just need to heat that through. So let me plate this up and show you what we've got. So now I've garnished this with a little extra crab meat, some slivered green onions, and a little sprinkle of paprika. Oh, I can't wait to dig into this. Well, there you go, kids. Another exciting episode of Scratch Cook with John. Quick note, because I'm anxious to get to my soup. Pairing. I went to a wine pairing a couple weeks ago, and it was a friend of mine. It was a great wine pairing. But I want to tell you my theory on pairing. You take whatever you like to eat and pair it with whatever you like to drink. It's going to be awesome. So, like she crab soup, for instance, pairs beautifully with an afternoon martini.